Hello YouTube, welcome to part 5 of my realism series. I really think I should come up with a better name for this series, but I have no idea what else to call it, so if you guys have any good ideas, let me know. I'm going to start off by apologizing. I had thought that I had made a mistake that cost me a mere 10 meters per second of delta V in the last mission, but whenever I started to record this for the first time to go show what I did wrong, I couldn't reproduce the issue. Turned out I had thought that whenever I was testing the XASR1 and then I switched to the AJ10 that I didn't reset the fuel mixture in that tank, which I actually didn't, but it turns out those two engines have the same fuel mixture ratios, so it wound up not making a difference. So I'm kind of confused about why I thought I saw a 10 meters per second delta V difference whenever I was messing with it before, but it is what it is, so we're just going to head forward. Today's mission again is going to be achieving orbit. Orbit or bust is what I'm going to call this. Maybe I should say orbit and or bust, since we'll probably break things in the process. But we'll start off by loading our Charlie B aircraft. I should say rocket, not really aircraft. I think aircraft is planes. These are rockets. They're only aircraft while they're flying through the atmosphere, which is just for a few minutes usually. So I had an idea. I'm pretty sure that I can get this up to a pretty good apoapsis. The problem is I have no control over it whenever it's up there. But the one thing I do have is spin stabilization. So if I can get a good apoapsis on the other side of the Earth, maybe we can just give it another boost in the opposite direction to circularize our orbit. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to just get one of these separation motors, and we're going to stick two of these to the top of this vehicle. Alright, now I'm going to angle them so they're in the right direction. And I think if we fire these off at the end, it'll give us enough boost just to circularize. I'm going to go ahead and adjust this thrust limiter so they're not so strong. And make sure that they're at the end of our staging. Alright, that looks pretty good. We can see that this is actually going to give us 216 meters per second of delta V, so that should, I think, be plenty to circularize, assuming that we can get up to a pretty good apoapsis and be close to orbital speeds. So we'll put our fairings back on and make sure that they're in the right order for staging. They probably aren't. I'm going to put them, let's see, where do I want them? Here's this engine that fires. I probably want them after that, so that's probably pretty good. Now, what are these force separation motors? That's our spin stabilization motor, so that's right. Another thing I'm going to do is these separation motors, the guys that are in here, I'm actually going to have them fire whenever I decouple everything. So now we have a total of 10 staging events. I think that's what we want. So go ahead and call this a Charlie C. And now one thing that I could do is I could actually simulate it, but I haven't been doing that in this series, at least not on camera. I won't lie, I've done some off camera, just to test out some designs. But I kind of want to do everything without simulation, so we're just going to go ahead and build this. Alright, checking Kerbal construction time. This guy should be done in about 22 days. Do I have any technology upgrades before then? No, this guy still has 110 days, so it'll be a while before we unlock any new technology. Early avionics should be pretty good, though. I think that gives us, I can't remember if it's early or basic avionics. I think probably basic avionics is what gives us the early controllable core. Actually, let's take a look real quick. So here's early avionics. None of these are controllable. This one is. This is actually an upgrade for the 1 meter guidance unit. So I think the current one that we have weighs like 0.6 tons. This is almost half the weight, so that'll be good. These science equipments will really help speed things up, though, so I'm looking forward to that. And this guy, this is good if we have some really big ships, but we're not building anything that's that big yet, so I don't think we need it. Alright, we'll roll this guy out. And I won't make you sit through another night launch. I know they show up horrible on camera. Well, not on camera, but on video. So we'll wait for a good sunrise. Alright, that should be a good time of day to launch. Of course, I'll turn on my metrics, just because they're kind of fun to watch. And hopefully we can get to orbit this time. I should probably want to get my apoapsis as late as possible, so I might actually go for a shallower initial apoapsis. So I'll kind of coast up, maybe reach 110 kilometers. That way, whenever my final burns happen before these motors, it'll flip my apoapsis to the other side of the Earth. So we'll go ahead and start our gravity turn. Orbital mechanics is hard. There's a funny XKCD comic. I'll see if I can find it and throw it into the description of the video. But it talks about, you know, how well I knew orbital mechanics, and it goes from high school, you know, it goes up to college, goes up a little bit more, and then degree at NASA, and it never really spikes or peaks until they actually play Kerbal Space Program. So it's kind of funny. So far, so good. I'm probably just going to keep it on surface velocity, at least until this main engine burns out. I think I had some pretty good luck switching to orbital velocity prograde whenever I'm using the main AJ-10 over here. I'm actually wondering if this is a bit too aggressive. Might actually kill a rotation. They say in optimal gravity turn, you kind of want your speed to be around 1,000 meters per second when you hit 45 degrees on the nav ball. So it looked like I was approaching that a little too quickly, so I'm just going to go ahead and lock our position in here for a bit. Now, of course, you got to remember this is not going up as a constant rate. As we burn fuel, our acceleration gets greater, and so this will speed up. So it looks like locking here is going to keep this right around 55 degrees. So I'd say maybe when I get to 900 meters per second, I'll release the lock. And then we'll start pitching over again. Now these final two stages, well, final four stages really, this is whenever I have no control over the vessel. Really, actually even this stage I don't have any control. So this is where fine-tuning the pitch is going to be really tricky. So I already have a pretty good apoapsis. I might just go ahead and do horizontal velocity plus. This will increase probably a little bit. Actually it's going down, so as we pick up speed this will go up. Right now we're still being affected by drag a little bit. Here we go, it's going up again. Alright, so my time to apoapsis is less than my burn time. And since I'm accelerating, this isn't actually going down at a second every second, while this guy is. So I'm going to have a few seconds after this is burned, and I'll still be going up. So I'm trying to judge, do I want to pitch up and kind of keep trying to go up, or do I just want to try to go straight as much as possible, and hopefully I won't fall too much back into the atmosphere. I don't know, it's tough. Should probably make up my mind. So let's do, see, I'm pointing at 92 degrees, so I'll say pitch up to 10 degrees and make a heading of 92 degrees. Should sort of help beef this up a little bit. Now, even if I stayed at 10 degrees right now, once I fire these off, it's going to maintain that pitch relative to the solar system. I think that's what it's relative to. So as I go around the Earth, it's going to continue to point this way, even if the Earth is curved this way. So that's going to help us whenever we do our burn on the flip side, but it sort of changes what pitch this is going to be at during this whole burn time. So I don't know. I guess we'll just see what happens. I'm gonna flip back to. Yeah, I'm gonna flip back to 0 and use RCS to stabilize this. Activate this antenna. Spin, stabilize. Alright, let's see what happens. Goodbye, second stage. Now we are falling again. Hopefully we don't fall too much, burn up in the atmosphere. Or probably even worse, have another failure one of these engines. The center one's okay, because if that goes out, we stay on track. If one of these outer ones go out, though, we totally lose control. If we were spinning faster, might be better, but we're not. I could strap, actually, the spin stabilization motors on here, but then we're dragging that weight throughout this whole burn, so I don't know if it's effective to do that or not. You can see we're falling pretty fast. 400 meters per second. This is going to burn for 60 seconds, so we're going to be pretty low by the time this is finished burning unless we can arrest that fall. This is when I'm wondering if I should have pitched up more. And you can see this curve right here. This is our pitch curve. This is whenever we no longer had any control over the pitch of our vessel. So you can see it's going up. That's because as we move forward in this direction, the Earth is curving under us, so our pitch relative to the Earth is increasing. But I don't know if it's increasing enough so where we don't burn up in the atmosphere. See, we're sort of pitched out this way, and we're about to start getting into this thicker stuff, so I'm thinking I should have pitched up more. Once this starts reading about 5 kilopascals, I think we're done for. I don't know. It's going to be close. 20 seconds left. Oh, yeah, it's not happening. Everything exploded. It's interesting how when it explodes, it just stops and everything else flies by. You can see these things are 40 kilometers, 50 kilometers away. That's how fast they're going. Sort of gives you an idea of the speed involved with this. All right, back to the Space Center. At least we get to recover this stage. I don't know whether Charlie B is loaded. Pretty sure we had Charlie C, so I'll reload him. Actually, I'm kind of curious if I saved the wrong graft. Yeah, sure enough, these guys have our motors up there. Wonder how I pulled that one off. Luckily, I actually save my whole save file using Git, so I can revert that change pretty easily. Let's see if this is correct as well. Yep, that has our motors up there, so I'm kind of curious as to what happened. Everything looks right in this one. But go ahead and build it. Alright, what are your bets on this guy? Should I pick a contract? Let's see what's available. Well, first artificial satellite, that's what I'm trying for. It does give us 2 years to do it. I might regret it, but we'll go ahead and accept it. Gives us money. Don't really need the money right now, but let's go ahead and warp to the daytime. I find whenever I time warp, sometimes more contracts appear. I don't know why that is, why they just don't show up right away. Alright, here comes the sun. Sounding rocket medium. 200 kilometers. Well, if we get to orbit, we should get that. The question is, can we get it in 90 days? Well, we have our backup plan that worked once we got some new engineers to build some good rockets for us. High is 1.9 million meters. I'll probably get that if I reach orbit, but I don't want to risk it right now. So we'll roll this out. Should have done that before. So now I got to warp to the day again. I was really hoping to achieve orbit in year 1, but we passed that before, so now it's year 2. Alright, take 2. Put on our normal metrics. And I'm thinking that I should get an apoapsis of at least probably 160 kilometers. Maybe even higher. I don't know, I'll probably do a lake gravity turn here. Probably somewhere over 100 meters per second. And that should probably coast us up high enough to where maybe we won't. I mean, we're going to probably fall faster. Well, I guess we won't really fall faster. We'll just fall steeper. But really time is what matters. So the more time I can get in space, maybe that'll matter. I'll probably fall a little bit faster because I'm not going as fast horizontally. And so the curvature of the Earth is not taking as big of an aspect that it normally would take. I mean, that's the whole point of orbit, is you really are falling, but you're falling at the same rate, or on average in the same rate as the Earth is curving around, so you never actually hit the ground. So the more horizontal speed you have, I mean, that's really what you need. Alright, I think I'm going to sort of lock into this gravity term profile. Now, MechJeb does have an ascent guidance mode that you can mess around with. I've done that in other games, but I haven't done it in this one yet. I might show that off later once we get a good reusable design that's pretty consistent, but right now we're just sort of testing things. I'm hoping this isn't too steep of a profile, but I guess we can test at extremes. We've been too shallow all the other times, so we definitely know this probably won't be too shallow. I like how I said that we definitely know that it probably won't be too shallow. And because this is steeper, my dynamic pressure is going down faster than other flights, to the point where I'm wondering if I should release these fairings before I fire up this engine. So I think if this gets down to about 5 kilopascals, that's a good time to release, and we still have 15 seconds of burn time left. They're away. Yeah, this is a lot steeper. Fire up our separation motors and our second stage. I'll activate our antenna, being careful not to activate these engines. That has happened before. Oh yeah, this engine is going to burn out way before apoapsis. You can see this time it's barely going down. If we cut our engines, this should go down at a second every second, but because we're going up, it's not doing that. We can probably adjust to go orbital prograde now. That'll give us a little bit more horizontal speed, because this is still going up at a pretty good rate. I'm going to plan 10 seconds before this engine dies. I'm going to go and maybe pitch up 10 degrees. Maybe we launch at that angle. I really don't know. This is almost above 160. Maybe now is a good time to just pitch this over to 10 degrees. Match up our heading to what it was over here. It'll at least help this engine pick up more horizontal velocity than vertical velocity. We're going to have about a minute of burn time before we're at our apoapsis, so maybe that's good. Maybe I should pitch back down to 0, sort of average out. Thinking that might be a good idea. Yeah. Do that, activate RCS, I'll balance out this wobble. Alright, and spin stabilize. Alright, 50 seconds to apoapsis. We'll see how close that lines up to this burn time. We're going forward, so that would probably extend our time just a little bit. Hopefully we get no catastrophic failures again. These engines have been running pretty reliably, except for that last time when we were really close. You can see we picked up just the ever so slightest wobble. Looks like this will have another 10 seconds past apoapsis. 5 seconds. Alright. See what this does. Hopefully this doesn't get any lower than just skimming the Earth. Chances are we'll actually make it to orbit without even having to fire these retro rocket engines. We're still falling down, and we're falling down faster, accelerating downward. But hopefully this gets arrested as we pick up higher G load. Looks like it might be slowing down, but it might be part of the wobble. See, at times it almost stops. Stabilizing, and hopefully this should start increasing. The magnitude of it would decrease, but it'll get closer to 0 and start going up. This is definitely best flight yet. 10 seconds of burn time. Getting closer to a circular orbit. Oh, so close. What does it say will impact? Just on the other side of the world. Oh, that's a bummer. I wonder if we didn't have these rockets, or if they were pointed the other way, it would work. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, the early apoapsis wouldn't work. Alright, so I think this design would work if these stages were quick burning. Because what would happen is we can get to a low initial apoapsis, but our actual final apoapsis would be on the other side of the world, and that's when these retro rockets could work. The fact of the matter is, though, our last flight, we got up to 160 kilometers. We really needed to circularize, or more than circularize there. So looked like we were doing pretty good. We almost achieved orbit. We were short by, I don't know, probably less than 100 meters per second delta V. So we have two options. We can take these guys and flip them down here and have a final stage, or just take them off. I mean, how many of these are really costing us? If we know that right now we're taking off 216, so if we add this 216 back to this at 200, we'd be at like 950. That's like if we didn't fire these rockets. Taking them off though, we're at 990. So it seems like the profile we had before was actually really good, and it would have been fine had we not even had these guys. You can take a look at this stage, 3,700 meters per second delta V, with just the weight of these guys on there. Drops it down to 3,500 and drops this one down too. So we were so close. Maybe we don't need these. Maybe we were fine with what we had before. So another option would be to throw a decoupler on this guy and stick these things on here and kind of make like a little micro satellite. That might not be a horrible option. This would give us a tremendous amount of delta V at the end. We're already spin stabilized, so I think I'm going to try it. So I spent about 10 minutes testing out this design just to find out it wasn't going to work. So I figured I'd spare you the in-flight commentary. The idea was to strap a single separation motor right under the bottom of that telemetry unit, but it didn't really want to snap in place. So I knew that I had a mod that would tell me what kind of rotation I was getting. It's the RCS build aid mod. So I'd never really used it before, so I figured I'd pull it up and kind of give a demo of what's going on. But you can see on the RCS build aid that second line right below reference says torque. That's how much torque that engine is going to provide if it's slightly off center. So here I am kind of just tweaking the position of that solid rocket motor to try to get that torque down as low as possible. It's a kind of cool tool, especially if you have like imbalanced engines. You can see what's going on. So then I said, okay, I'll get that center engine, but whenever I went to go throw that decoupler on it, I realized it didn't want to snap to the bottom of the engines. So I said, okay, let me slap on two engines. So I bring everything up to the little telemetry unit, the battery, everything, engines there, and then I'm taking a look at my delta V stats, and I noticed that my delta V only went up like 30 meters per second from what it was before. So I'm like, okay, this is not a very efficient design. Here you can see it's 6,000, but that's because I have staging wrong. I find that out whenever I'm done messing with all the staging. So I realize at this point, I'm not really getting any more bang for my buck with this whole extra contraption. It adds complexity. So I say we were so close before. Just if we go back to what we had before with just the standard Beta or Charlie B, we'll probably be fine. So this is where I'm at now. We're going to go for the same launch profile as before. These separation motors were here, and we actually staged this before we fired up our second stage. So this is a slight revision of the B, but it's really just a staging order difference, so I'll leave it as is. Alright, time to warp to completion again. I should still have plenty of time on this contract. Let's just double check. 67 days, that's enough to go to a backup plan if we had to. Roll this out. Give us a daytime launch. Ooh, early morning. Let's see how that shows up. Should be launching towards the sun, so as the time progresses, it'll be getting brighter and brighter. Plus, as we go higher, we'll see over more of the curvature of the Earth. Alright, let's do what we do best. Oh, I forgot to lock this in. I'm over here looking at my drag and gravity losses. I'm already starting to pitch over. Ooh, I am totally slacking because we should be pitching over by now. Hopefully that won't mess us up too bad. Yeah, I think we're going to have to pitch up more than this. See our angle of attack going crazy. I'm actually going to switch to orbital prograde now. Hopefully we don't destroy ourselves. Release these fairings. Separate. Second stage ignition. And we are not going high enough. Pitch up again. Hopefully it's early enough that we can correct that. I'm actually going to set my pitch to 40 degrees. And our engine failed. Well, this is another failed mission. Let's just burn to the ground. Figured why not have things go in all different directions. Ooh, science. Click science. See if we can get any of this. Well, I got some science. So I guess this wasn't a completely failed mission. Alright, while I'm here, one thing I know I'm going to eventually want to have to do is upgrade this launch pad. So now that we have the money from accepting that contract to reach orbit, I'll go ahead and do that now. I want to upgrade this guy too, but it's going to use all my funds. And I think to actually do maneuvers, you need to upgrade this guy. So I can go ahead and start him. I should have enough extra cash. And I think all we can do is try again, at least until we unlock some new science. If it weren't for that failure, we might have had a chance. Of course, we went sort of haywire at the beginning. So build in 20 days. Looks like we're getting better at these things. This looks like ominous launch conditions, but we'll do it anyways. Alright. This is, what, launch number 5? 6? I have no idea. Maybe even 7? How many times did they take it to launch Sputnik? Now, I'll have you know, my recording right now is live. It's not post-production, so I really have no idea if this is going to work or not. I have yet to get this rocket to get anything into orbit. Through the clouds, they'd probably never allow this in real life. Maybe they would. I don't know. They look kind of dark, but it was kind of early, so maybe that's why they look so dark. I don't think this has failed on us at all. I wonder if we could actually squeak out some more performance out of this. You know, I say that, of course it's probably going to die now. But I don't think we've had a singular failure on the RD-103. We're probably unlocking some good data units on it. It's got some pretty good research. Alright, fairings away. Separation. Second stage ignition. Activate our antenna. Go orbit prograde. I like the rate at which this is rising. Just kind of comparing our orbital speed versus our surface speed. You can see here our surface speed's going up, but our orbital speed really isn't changing. Well, take a look at our pitch. We're going straight up, so that's not changing much. As we start to pitch over, our orbital speed increases. You can see here our surface speed was actually going down, but our orbital speed was going up. So it's pretty interesting. Looks like we're getting good altitude like we were before. Hopefully we have enough delta V now in these stages to maybe circularize. We're in space now. I'm going to bring this down to 0. Activate RCS. Hopefully this arrests our turn. Stabilize. Begin spin maneuver. Third state ignition now. Yeah, planetary alignment. Sometimes there's Jupiter. Sometimes I can hover over these and they pop up, and other times it's hard to figure out what they are. Oh, looks like Venus is one of them. Maybe this is Mars or Saturn, I can't really tell. Second stage ignition, or separation, and ignition. Looks like we picked up a bit of a wobble. Hopefully that's not too bad. It's going down. Still trying to figure out what that planet is. Maybe it's actually a star. Oh, it's along the ecliptic. I don't think it's a star. If we get to orbit, we'll look. T-minus 25 seconds till we know if we do or not. Killing my vertical speed, so that's good. He's getting close. 3, 2, 1. Oh, look. We did it. We did it. We're in orbit. Oh my goodness. Finally. After how many attempts did it take? Oh, this is great. I could finally stop chasing this dream of getting into orbit. Sure enough. Okay, we got our stage recovered. But where's our contract? Oh, I think we got to transmit science from orbit. Let's see what it said. Active contracts. We're definitely going to hit our Sunny Rocket Medium. First artificial satellite. Yeah, it wants any experiment. Good thing we brought some. So let's grab our telemetry unit. It's probably going to be the easiest since we're spinning. And analyze telemetry. And even though we get no science, we're going to get some money once this transmits. Hooray. Oh, contract complete. First artificial satellite. We got some reputation. Let's take a look at the map. Doesn't that look wonderful? Now I promised we'd take a look and see what planet that was, so let's get our bearings. If we're looking out, it's the sun, then these two, and then a third. So where's the sun? Of course the sun's over here. Sun. Then maybe that's a moon? Let's try zooming out. Nope. Okay, there we go. So maybe we see Mercury? It's interesting that Mercury's actually farther out. We have Venus and Jupiter. That looks like the pattern that we were seeing. That's pretty neat. So this is Mercury. Yep, sure enough, there goes Mercury. Venus and Jupiter. Wonderful. Oh, I feel accomplished. Now this guy should be able to pick up some science from us from the other side of the world. I think, what's the farthest we got so far? I think Africa? This thing should go over Madagascar, Australia over here. I think Hawaii's probably somewhere out over here. But I'm wondering if any of these biomes we haven't actually already gotten science from. Not the poles. So there's a mod for that. If I can find it. I think I stuck it in the toolbar. Let's see. X Science. So if I want like temperature scan from Earth, I could do temp Earth. And I can say show experiments available on this vessel. That sort of help filter down. This has landed. I care about being in space. So really all I'm missing is high over Earth and the poles. Now I can also do temperature telemetry analysis. Same thing, poles and high over Earth. You can see pressure scan is only while in space near Earth and high over Earth. So this isn't going to get high over Earth and this isn't going to get to the poles. We could try going for a polar orbit, but I might bask in my victory here and wait till I get some better upgrades before attempting that. Normally I would wait for this vessel to crash, but that's not going to happen. All that would happen now is we run out of electric charge, which probably won't be too far out. We've used about 10% of what we had on board in 10 minutes. So it sounds like maybe we'll get one orbit out of this before the batteries die. But that's enough for me. It's an orbit. So we can accelerate. I don't expect to see science alert pop up. But if it did, we'll be ready. Actually looks like I'll get a bit more. I bet power was being drained whenever we had those bigger guidance units on, so. And whenever we were transmitting data, that sucks up some power, so we might get more than an orbit. Sunset. And we'll wait for sunrise. Wonderful. Isn't that cool? Alright, we did an orbit. Back to the Space Center. Alright, now what kind of wonderful contracts do they want us to achieve? We still haven't sent any people in any planes. We could do that. Oh, already it wants us to go to the moon. I don't have... I barely got to orbit, let alone the moon. That's another 3,000 meters per second of delta V. Science from space around Earth. Hey, that's a good one. I can do that. If I accept this contract, I don't even have to launch a new vessel. It gives us some money and some reputation. So, sure, I'll accept that. Actually, probably could have just stayed there without having to go back. Because I have a mod that lets you view and accept contracts anywhere. Actually use that more often than going into the administration building to choose contracts. Alright, you want a science experiment? How about not a tank? There we go. Pressure scan. You can see how this will bump up every little bit while we're transmitting data. It's kind of actually hard to see in the video. Any more contracts we can do while we're here? Got more sounding rockets, but that's about it. All right, well, I think the next steps would be to unlock some of these guys in the tech tree. Early avionics unlocks 21 days. We could actually go ahead and build another ship that has that, and then all we need to do is modify it to add the new components that we get with this. But we can at least kick that off. We have the money to do that. So the Beta B was the winner. Not the Beta, the Charlie B was the winner. So we'll go ahead and load him, and we will build him. And then next time when we come back, we'll go ahead and finish building that guy, unlock that science node, strap some new equipment to it. Some of it should lighten up the load, and we'll have more science equipment to test. And then go from there. But until then, see you next time.